Good evening and welcome to the BBC News at 6. The children's charity Kids Company is due to close in the next hour amid questions over its finances. Ministers gave the organisation, which helps vulnerable children and young people, £3 million last week, despite concerns about the way it was managed. The charity's founder, Camilla Batman-Gerich, told the BBC that civil servants and ministers and the media were responsible for its demise and children would suffer as a result. Our special correspondent Lucy Manning reports. In August 1945, US planes dropped 2 atomic bombs, one on Hiroshima and 3 days later the other on Nagasaki. It was the first and only time that nuclear weapons have been used. Tens of thousands of people lost their lives as a direct result of the bombings. Now, on the eve of the 70th anniversary of Hiroshima, our special correspondent Fergal Keane has been talking to survivors of the attack. You may find some of his report distressing. Now, the Great British Bake Off. It's become a global phenomenon. And tonight, 12 new contestants, including a firefighter and a prison governor, are hoping their baking will impress the judges in the latest series on BBC One. So what's the secret of its success? Sarah Campbell's been finding out. Good evening and welcome to the BBC News at 6. A 14-year-old boy who stabbed a teacher at his school in West Yorkshire has been sentenced to up to 11 years in detention. Bradford Crown Court heard that the teenager, who can't be named because of his age, attacked Vincent Azuma in June. He was working as a supply teacher at Dixon's King's Academy. Today, Mr. Azuma, who suffered a deep wound to the stomach, said he had forgiven the teenager and wanted him to become what he called a changed person. Ed Thomas is outside the school now. Ed. Now, it's the fastest-selling show in London theatre history. People have been queuing for hours to get the chance to see the Sherlock star, Benedict Cumberbatch, play Hamlet. But it seems all the attention from fans is getting too much for the actor. Now, he's pleaded with audiences not to film him while he's on stage, saying he finds the flashes and red lights very distracting. Our entertainment correspondent Lisa Mazimba reports. Good evening and welcome to the BBC News at 6. 24-year-old Karen Buckley went missing in Glasgow in April after an evening out in one of the city's nightclubs. Today, a 21-year-old man admitted randomly targeting her as she left the club. He hit her repeatedly with a spanner and strangled her in his car. Alexander Pacto then tried to dispose of her body in a bath full of chemicals. Karen's father called him truly evil and said he hoped he would spend the rest of his life behind bars. Search is continuing for 2 men whose boat overturned during a fishing trip in the Firth of Forth yesterday afternoon. Another man was pulled from the water but died in hospital in Dundee last night. The technology giant Google has announced a big reorganisation of its business. They're creating a new parent company called Alphabet, which will look after its newer and more experimental businesses like driverless cars and using drones to deliver parcels. Meanwhile, the Google search engine and YouTube will remain under the Google brand, as our business correspondent Emma Simpson explains. England's women cricketers have been in action on the first day of a 4-day test against Australia in Canterbury today. The match is part of the Women's Ashes series, a collection of behind-the-scenes photographs from the wedding of Prince Charles and Lady Diana in 1981 is to be auctioned in the United States. The 12 prints capture the newlyweds with senior royals in Buckingham Palace shortly after becoming man and wife. Our royal correspondent Nicholas Witchell has been taking a look.